E-waste is defined as any sort of electronic device that is discarded. Without a proper recycling process, these products can pollute the environment, especially water sources, for eons. Chemicals such as mercury, cadmium, lead, and others are contained in these devices. What is even worse is the sheer magnitude of this problem. For example, the year 2000, 4.6 million tons of various e-waste found itself in landfills in the United States.
Our service project group decided that it would be noble and just to take on this valiant problem. We decided to work at VId.
VId has several missions. The principal one is to keep e-waste out of landfills by recycling or reusing components, reusing being the best form of recycling.
Also, as you can see from this beautiful chart, only 17.7% of e-waste is recycled. This means that 2.59 million tons of e-waste are incinerated or dumped into landfill.
As you can see from this chart, mercury, cadmium, and lead are not the only things contained in computers. Other highly toxic chemicals and elements such as antimony and arsenic can be found in computers and other electronics. As we mentioned before, many countries do not have proper recycling programs to safely dispose of these toxins. For example, Greenpeace reports that at a recycling center in Guizhou, China, women and children were found burning old computers to extract the copper, which is quite valuable. However, burning the old husks of computers releases toxins into the atmosphere, where they will cause enormous harm.
To help correct the problem of e-waste, our group decided to work at a local and independent agency called VId. They have multiple aims, their chief goal being to reduce e-waste.
We needed to go through an obligatory orientation where we learned about VId and its organization and their mission to cut down toxic e-waste and educating the public. It took about a half hour, and during that time we saw the workspaces and became acquainted with some of the volunteers, like Jeff, Brad, and Andy.
We began our service after orientation by recycling. This is where we disassembled electronic components to be sent to a recycling center. We learned quite a bit about how various mechanical items are assembled and the processes involved.
I just noticed that. Alright. First off, this is keyboard, then check 2.
Number 2.
Number 2. And first off, for real. Yeah, that is definitely. I didn't catch that. Actually, we'll probably continue before this.
Yeah. First comment for me. Okay, that was awesome.
It's funny how he's Bahar's son.
Twilight is horrible. Yeah, Twilight. That's way
Twilight.
What the Twilight?
Oh yeah, pop those out.
Hey, go Twilight. Whoa. Yeah, at least you don't watch this.
What?
No, that's a TV show.
Yeah, we're gonna toss this in here.
Tidy workspace and
Not so far.
And this crap, yeah.
So don't put it to me, my stuff.
Okay.
VId uses a system called Triton to keep track of volunteer hours. Using this system, we calculated that we volunteered more than 16 hours each. We each had volunteered 7% more than required.
To understand the effects of e-waste and to explore VId's mission, we interviewed 3 staff volunteers at VId who are knowledgeable on the subject. These volunteers were Jeff, Brad, and Peter.
My name is Jeff Wechter. I've been involved with VId for probably over 3 years now.
My name is Brad. Obviously, I'm a volunteer at VId.
My name is Peter Shea. I've been working with VId for about 2 years.
VId has several missions. The principal one is to keep e-waste out of landfills. The power supply can pollute a water source for eons. So keeping one power supply out of a dump can protect hundreds of acres of land.
We take people's donated computers, we tear those down to components, and we use those components to teach people how to build computers. And after volunteering with us for 24 hours, volunteers can earn a computer that they can take home, that is theirs. And so we provide computers to those who might not otherwise be able to afford them. Those components that are too old to be used or are broken, we turn down to the component materials and we recycle in an environmentally and socially responsible way.
Bridging the digital divide is another part of FreeGeek's broad mission. The digital divide refers to how impoverished and disadvantaged people generally do not have the same access to computers and the internet that more affluent people have. FreeGeek tries to solve this by rebuilding old donated computers. The process also helps reduce e-waste. How, you ask? It's simple. Instead of heading to a landfill, the computers are refurbished and turned into new, functioning machines. It's really that simple.
Many people believe that passing on old computers to underdeveloped countries is a good way to eliminate e-waste while helping those less fortunate. However, this is a big problem. By re-gifting our old tech, we're passing on waste removal costs to places that really can't afford it. Since these countries can't afford to remove the waste, it ends up as a toxic hazard. By 2010, there was nearly 1 billion pounds of obsolete tech laying around, mostly computers and monitors. This process, re-gifting, seems very similar to part of FreeGeek's goals. That is bridging the digital divide. However, FreeGeek is passing on refurbished machines to people in this country who will actually use the computers. Because of their experience with FreeGeek, when they receive the computer, they will know how to responsibly recycle their computer once they are done with it.
We also have an educational component where we want to teach people how to use computers, work with their computers, the hardware, diagnose problems. And we also are promoting open source software, so we install Linux on all the systems that we put together and occasionally teach classes on how to use Linux.
Linux was a solution to a problem that a guy named Linus Torvald identified, which was that there should be a free operating system. And so that's why Linux is called Linux, because of Linus. So it is an alternative to the operating systems that most people are accustomed to, which is either a flavor of Windows or a flavor of Macintosh by Apple. There's many flavors of Linux. Ubuntu kind of hits the sweet spot for what we're doing.
Individual efforts on their own rarely cause enormous change. However, when many people work towards a common goal, huge wrongs can be rectified. This same concept applies to our service project. All three of us combined over the entire year probably only recycled or recovered about 100 pounds of e-waste. However, when everyone combines toward a common goal, only then can we truly make an impact on our planet's health.
The month of January we had over 1,000 volunteer hours. Volunteers come and go. There is no scheduling number of when they come and go, so everybody comes at their own pace. So one weekend we might have 50 people here, the next weekend we might have 10, but we do track the man hours, and for the month of January there was over 1,000 volunteer hours.
But yes, we are absolutely making a difference. And I really believe that this is the beginning of something that will continue to grow, and hopefully it'll grow exponentially. And I think that with the move that's going to happen in the next few weeks, that we are definitely looking at wrapping up, and we want to gather more staffers, more super volunteers. So like if you guys were to continue to work with the program, you could come back and help train people and mentor people, and you'd be super volunteers. And so that's kind of what we really want to cultivate, is more people coming back and bringing people in and advocating.
Of course, the effects of our service are a bit hard to show in a documentary. However, the employees at FreeGeek were able to inform us how they are impacting society.
December of last year, we got 674 tower computers, 182 laptop computers donated. Now, the majority of those were donated because they were in a non-working state, so we recycled them, but we did find potential to reuse some of those.
Well, we can always do more. In some respects, there's always more we could be doing and that sort of thing. It's a matter of how much time and resources and volunteers do we have and whatnot.
We can also observe the computers are the biggest in three areas: production, disposal, and recycling. However, we also see a glaring problem with the situation. Cell phones are produced at a very large rate, though a very small proportion of those handy little devices are recycled when they come to the end of their life cycle. Instead, most of them are tossed into landfills. The area of cell phones, in our opinion, is the area that has the most room for improvement.
Fortunately, our service group is not the only force for change in the e-waste debacle. FreeGeek itself is not an original idea, for they got their inspiration from another group.
FreeGeek started in 2000 in Portland. It was the mothership, as I call it. This organization was started in 2007. They started out in Powder May. They moved here.
Non-profits aren't the only people trying to solve the e-waste problem. For example, Hewlett-Packard recycled 1 billion pounds of ink cartridges in the year 2007. The UN is pressing other manufacturers to follow the path to higher standards and to eliminate toxins from their products.
Not only are citizens and society beginning to make an impact, local governments are also passing more responsible e-recycling laws. Two great examples of this are the states of California and Massachusetts. California has released many useful resources to inform the public about the e-waste problem. They also have passed more socially and environmentally responsible e-waste disposal systems.
Massachusetts is also a great example of a state willing to take on this challenge. In New England, more than 330 towns and cities operate e-waste recycling programs. What is astonishing, though, is that approximately 90% of these municipalities are in Massachusetts. The EPA operates most of these programs, and they are helping to discourage people from discarding their electronics into the main trash stream.
Overall, it's looking good for the planet. We are becoming nerds. Environmentally responsible nerds.
Yeah, this is a little. Go, Wes.